This one is on Sheriff Scott DeCoste and his officers. Before Natalie was killed, I didn't know who Scott DeCoste was. I'd only known two of the officers that worked for him, and all I knew about those two officers is that they didn't care. They told me I just needed to man up, and they had real police work to do. Come to find out later that one of those officers' name was Jordan Anderson. Now, in the amount of time that I have spent trying to press charges against these officers for their negligence and for outright harming me to hide their own wrongdoing, Scott DeCoste has done all in his power to prevent that from happening, up to and including lying to Jen Beebe. Well, I was in Scotts Bluff recently. Well, maybe I should tell you the story. I needed Jen Beebe there because Molly Smith had gone in with me a week earlier, but she wasn't there and I still needed to make reports. So I was able to get a hold of Jen Beebe to have her sit with me so I could make those reports safely without being retaliated against by the officers that I was trying to write reports against. Well, they told Jen Beebe that I had reached for one of their guns and had tried to suicide by cop. This is an outright lie, and Jen Beebe is willing to testify to that. Imagine that, police officers lying. Ooh. Big fucking mystery there. No, police do this America-wide. It's basically their job description is just to lie. So I was taken to Scotts Bluff to prevent me from making a police report. That's because I had admitted that I tried to kill myself a week earlier. Obviously, I was not trying to kill myself. I was in their office trying to make a report. But they wanted to send me to Scotts Bluff. In Scotts Bluff, they took me to the 5th floor of the Scotts Bluff Hospital where they tried to force drugs into my system, and we had a standoff with their computers. There was a guy named Ruben. That's Baldylocks, for those of you who followed my videos from the beginning, which probably is nobody. But Baldylocks is the bald, Hispanic-looking feller who, he's got diamond studs in his ears, tries to make himself, the chain like he's a gangster, But he's working in a mental hospital, 5th floor of Regional West in Scotts Bluff. And this guy literally tried to break my fingers. Meanwhile, I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm trying to prevent them from putting drugs into me by holding their computers hostage. By the way, I said that I would plead guilty to the crimes that I committed, and I meant it. I recently pled guilty to that crime. However, that's neither here or there. Because I broke those things, and I wanted to plead guilty, and they didn't want to let me do that. They just wanted to drag out the court date bullshit. Well, I couldn't afford to keep going to all this court shit. I literally needed someone to go in with me to file a report against these officers. Instead, I had to walk back from Scotts Bluff to Chapel, Nebraska. That's quite a walk. I didn't walk the whole way. I got 3 rides. One of them from a guy who lived in Kimball, one of them from a state patrol officer, and one from a Cheyenne County Sheriff's deputy. I finally got back to Chapel and was trying to, number 1, get my car back, and number 2, finish what I started, which is make a report against those officers. So I was able to get a hold of the state patrol, who had somebody meet me there, Officer Bill Burr, or State Patrolman Bill Burr, who really didn't seem like he was even interested. He didn't seem like he cared. That's a major issue. Those officers need to be forced to do their jobs. Otherwise, what the hell are we paying them for? So then, I threatened to kill the President of the United States, and threatened to kill the people who threatened to kill me, and the ones who threatened to kill my friends and family. And, well, I got my court dates out of that, where evidence was prevented from being shown. I was tortured in the jails and assaulted repeatedly by officers. Fuck the police. So, I wasn't able to make it to my court dates in Scottsbluff or in Larimer, where the same thing happened. Both places I was assaulted, prevented from speaking to a police officer. And in one of those places, they illegally injected me with drugs. That was the one in Larimer County, Colorado. Clearview. Look up Clearview Behavioral Health. Those of you who don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Just look it up on YouTube. You'll see what the fuck I'm talking about. You'll learn about the B-52 and about them holding people longer than they should hold them so they can get more insurance money that's paid for by who? You, the taxpayers. Anyway, when I got back to town, I was talking to Molly Smith. This is just about a month ago. And Molly Smith agreed to go in there with me to speak to the police. Well, she called the police before we went in. And one of the officers that I was trying to make a report against, his name is Officer Jared Hahn. Well, Officer Jared Hahn told her that he's trying to avoid me because I had warrants. Well, then he had another officer come and harass me while I was going for a walk. That officer arrested me on the Scottsbluff warrants, which shouldn't have existed, which I have been trying for over a year by this point, to get my public pretender to actually call me, to actually talk to me, and my public pretender in Scottsbluff literally wouldn't. This entire time, not one phone call, not one conversation, just outright fucking ignoring me. Well, that's not okay. Meanwhile, I only had that warrant because my public pretender, Pamela Carty, did not inform the other places where I had court, and she was aware of these places. She made no effort to inform them that I was incarcerated and therefore could not be legally charged with failure to appear. Fuck the police, by the way, and fuck the public pretender's offices everywhere. See, they're not going to give a shit about homeless people, people with no money. We don't matter to your society. Being homeless is a criminal act. That means if your parents kick you out of the house after stealing your money, you are a criminal. If your husband molests your daughter and you can't pay the bills because he got arrested, you end up homeless, you are a criminal. Scott DeCoste has done everything in his power to prevent me from making a report against his officers. Now, Jared Hahn, the night that I was arrested here just a month ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that, I needed to be able to get this phone that's in my hand so I could get numbers off of it so I could actually call people and have an honest chance. But no. Officer Hahn was the supervisor in charge that night, and he said no. Imagine that. Crooked fuck. Deuel County Police Department, or Deuel County Sheriff's Department, here in Chapel, Nebraska. They need to be removed. All of them. If they had done their jobs before Natalie was killed, Natalie might still be alive. I might not have had to do the desperate shit that I had to fucking do to defend myself. Actually defend myself. Not this pretendy shit that the Bollingers are playing. Who is it that's on fucking drugs? Me? I admit to smoking marijuana. Ooh! Is that methamphetamines? Fuck no. Is that cocaine? Is that heroin? Fuck no, I stay away from that shit. What do they want to give me for my back? Synthetic heroin. Opioids. Fuck that. So today, Scott DeCoste was following me around town. Fuck you, Scott DeCoste. You're a crooked fuck. The things that you pulled aren't just immoral, they're illegal as fuck. And you deserve prison, you piece of shit.